Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So I got a question about how to create anterior or forward expansion in the chest wall with breathing, or what exercises and activities would be optimal for that. And this question was in response to a video I had done about promoting posterior expansion or expansion in the back of the rib cage using a low reach against the wall. So the keys to promoting anterior expansion are, I think, threefold. One, we have to use gravity as our friend. So gravity will help expansion anteriorly, mostly when we're in more of a prone position or a quadruped position, especially if our hips are a little bit higher than the shoulders, just because gravity is just going to move pressure down and forward, and just that'll allow our rib cage to move forward when we take an inhale. So we want to start there at least, and have exercises that we can do that put people in the best position to be successful early on, just so they can get that sensation of having the chest move forward. Once we get better at feeling that sensation, we can get up from the ground and we can start moving and standing. And when we do that, we have to think about the arm movements that would help promote this expansion. So typically there's three different directions that we could reach. It would be straight forward into flexion, and what this allows for is the shoulder blades basically go to the side of the rib cage and kind of squeeze the rib cage in laterally, which could help to assist in a forward expansion. But when we do that, we have to make sure that we're not using our chest muscles too much, because thinking about the end of a bench press, this is usually where you get your lockout and your pec squeeze. So we want to make sure we're not getting a pec squeeze as we are creating this reach, because we want to have more of the shoulder blades wrapping around and squeezing the rib cage here. So a little bit of a bias towards external rotation and just making sure that we're sort of soft in the pecs while we take an inhale. That direction is going to be useful, as well as going anything behind the back into pure shoulder extension, or any version of extension, internal rotation, and adduction is often useful, because as the arms go behind, the anterior chest wall has to be able to expand, or we're compensating in some way when we go behind the back. So I'm going to show a couple different exercises that touch on each of these principles, and if you have any questions, we can go farther with it. So for the first principle, we want to make gravity our friend here. We're going to start in a quadruped position, and then we'll use these RX pads to elevate the knees so we get the hips a little bit higher than the shoulders. All right, so we can start in just either a full kind of quadruped with arms straight, or it actually can be more useful to get down into the forearm, so we create even a little bit more of an inverted position here. And then to make sure that we're not over-pecking, which is another principle, we want to try to create a little bit of external rotation. So that's going to be palms up, thinking about it, creating a gentle spread of our hands. And while we're in this position, we don't want gravity to collapse us here, so there should still be some expansion in between the shoulder blades. All right, get into a little bit of a tuck of the pelvis, and then just try to breathe here. Inhale, try to feel the sternum go down towards the ground between the arms. Exhale, pull the belly button to the spine, keeping the sense of reaching through the arms, through the ground. And then the next inhale, just try to feel that expansion there. So that would be a good exercise to make gravity help us, but sometimes that's still difficult to feel for many people. So that's where I find using feedback from pressure from a ball quite useful. So we can start with a physio ball, and this is a pretty small physio ball. You can really use any size, but the goal would be to kind of progress to a smaller ball so we're getting closer to prone. But the first exercise here would be just, I'm on my knees, I feel the physio ball right on the sternum, and it's nice to have a ball that doesn't have a ton of air in it, because you can really sink into it and feel the feedback a lot better. The arms they could start really at this sort of 90-degree flexion position, and then we can move them into different positions. But first we want to create a little tuck in the pelvis. Inhale, and now I can really feel the sternum move into the ball. So I'll hold that for a few, just get a sense of that, and then exhale, belly button to spine. I can feel the lungs deflate, and now the ball sort of sinks into me. And then the next inhale, I feel that expansion again. Okay, so I can then also start moving my arms into different planes. So if I go into extension here with my shoulders and I hang out there, I can breathe in, I'll feel my sternum go into the ball more. The next exhale, pull the belly button to spine, but don't let the arms drop, just keep them there. And then the next inhale, I can breathe into the ball and go a little farther. So the head position is important here because as we start going into extension, the head's gonna wanna go closer to the ground. So we just wanna do the best we can, keeping the head in line with the thoracic spine. Okay, and then we can do the same thing with hands behind the back, same principle here. All right, so that can be done with a physio ball, and then you can eventually do that with a Coregeous ball too, or just a smaller air-filled ball, putting it right in the sternum, and then you're getting closer to prone. This allows you to have a little bit more stabilized head position because you can feel the forehead on the ground, and then you're doing the same thing. Feel the inhale, move the sternum into the ball, and then you can start working extension and hand behind back from there. Okay. So that would be using gravity as our friend there to allow for some expansion in the anterior rib cage. When we do get upright and we change our relationship to gravity, it's very useful to use some type of pull or corner to lock our posture in place or give us some feedback for a stacked posture of our head, the space between the shoulder blades or the upper back region, and the back of the sacrum. So I'll show you this with a pillar, and then this can help promote movements where we start going behind the back into extension and internal rotation, again trying to promote this expansion anteriorly without compensation. All right, so going straight back into extension, I have the back of my head touching, I have the space between the shoulder blades, and I can feel the area, it's like the back of the belt on the pillar. I'm going to move my arms back until they can't go anymore. Then I'm gonna take a breath in. The inhale, I should feel that move forward. Keep reaching the arms long. Exhale, belly button to spine. Go a little bit farther into extension. The next inhale, feel the expansion here in the chest as the arms keep reaching back. And then I can take about 5 breaths and just keep going in that direction. And then depending on how big the pillar is, you can then bend the arms and start reaching behind the back with the same principles in mind. All right, so those would be the exercises that I'm going through with clients to try to promote expansion anteriorly, but I'm also just looking at it as most of the time you need some shoulder extension, shoulder internal rotation, and just also to get more comfortable in different positions and learn how to stabilize your posture proximally while you're moving your arms at different angles. If you have any questions, you can go to movingprofessional.com. I'll see you next time.